Welcome to the... What am I going to call this? Hey everybody, welcome to the future, I guess. Today we're going to be reviewing comics that came out on August 15th of 2012. It's a pretty short week, and I have a feeling this is going to be a pretty short podcast. Actually, it's not a short week at all. There's some quality stuff that came out this week, but we're going to do our best to fly right through them, not waste any of your time. So what do you say we get to it with my pick for the best comic of the week? And sitting proudly at the top of my list of comics this week is Wonder Woman number 12. Yes, it's been a long time, if ever, since the Amazon Princess has been at the top of the stack here inside my comic review segment. And I think this week it is the best comic because, well, quite frankly, because it has returned to form. It is one of the best comics in the New 52, and it has been since the beginning, really. But it kind of wavered a little bit. Some fill-in artists, some dragging plot points here and there. But has consistently been a fantastic title, and this issue finishes off what has been basically the first big main story arc. What I really love about, actually not just Wonder Woman, but a lot of the books in the New 52 is how complete and thorough and big most of these series have been. We got 12 issues wrapping up for, almost all of the series, except for some of the new ones that started late. We're heading into the 0 issues. And a lot of these big, at least the mainstream comics, Batman and so forth, have been telling one big story, and it really kind of harkens back to the days where you had these big epic runs on titles. And now everything obviously is built for trade, and you don't get that kind of stuff anymore, and it's really too bad. But it's really, really great to see that come back, especially with a series like Wonder Woman, which really needed the kind of the kick in the pants, so to speak, that to make the character important and relevant and everything she can be again. And Brian Azzarello's series has done this. He wraps up the first story arc and sets the stage for the next all in one fell swoop. And what really hit home on this issue was the big twist at the end. I don't think I'm actually even going to spoil it because that was that awesome of a twist. And then we have a little bit of a tease at the end after the twist. And the tease I will spoil. That's coming up in just a minute, though. But we were all looking one way, and Brian Azzarello sent some other characters in another direction. And I didn't see it coming, but it's one of those things after you read it that you didn't feel stupid for not seeing it. I don't think too many people probably saw this coming, but it's definitely one of those you kind of question, like, I probably should have seen that coming. The return of series regular artist Cliff Chiang certainly didn't hurt anything at all. His interpretation of these characters is just as bold, different, and innovative as Brian Azzarello's written interpretation of these characters, and the two working together in harmony really helped deliver just an awesome quality title. And as I mentioned before, really set the stage for, really give Diana the stage she needs as Wonder Woman, and it's a joy to read and just a ton of fun to see these gods playing in the mortal world. And speaking of gods, the big tease at the end, the big cliffhanger as we head in, after the 0 issue, as we head into the second chapter, I guess you can call it, is a tease of the new gods, actually. A little bit weird, maybe, but we get a glimpse of Orion. And it's very, very difficult glimpse. I barely recognized it. I'm not the biggest New Gods fan in the world, but I am a big enough New Gods fan to get excited by what I saw here. 4 quick panels, and like I said, a very, very brief glimpse of Orion. You can tell it's him by the helmet that he holds, and then there's a deliberate New Gods flare and what looks to be the use of a boom tube. Really, really nice effect. Actually, the panels are written out in the BOOM. It's a really, really nice tease. And if you listen to the podcast right before this, Sween and I talked in the Radical Corner of Turtle Comic Talk about how well that series has done, constantly wrapping up one story arc while at the same time setting the stage brilliantly for another. And that's exactly what we have here in Wonder Woman. As in general, Brian Azzarello has done a great job of kind of resurrecting this character and using the format of the New 52 and the new expanded boundaries of what can and can't be done, and really done something great with the character and her supporting cast, and the world she inhabits is barely recognizable, even though it's the world that I guess sort of that we all inhabit. It's these gods coming down and messing in quote-unquote mortal affairs, and it's just a ton of fun, and we finally get to see Wonder Woman cut loose and be powerful and be Wonder Woman, really, and that's fantastic, and that's why Wonder Woman number 12 was this week's pick of the week. Alright, what do you say we stick with the New 52 and head back a bit? I stopped reading Green Lantern shortly after the New 52 began. I got a little bit sick of Hal Jordan not being a Green Lantern, or Hal Jordan being dependent on Sinestro to be a Green Lantern. It was a lot of sad sack Hal Jordan, and it wasn't really entertaining me. But I actually went back and picked up issue 11. The reason I didn't review it was because I didn't go back and pick it up until almost a week later, and by then I figured you guys had either read it or hadn't read it or weren't going to read it or whatever. You didn't need my opinion on it, and probably don't need my opinion on this, but then why are you listening to me? Anyway, I did pick up number 12 because I liked number 11 so much, and basically what we have here is the return of the Black Hand and sort of the return of Black Lanterns. Black Hand has the ability, it appears, to resurrect people into zombies, really. I guess there's nothing else to call them. They don't have black rings, though. They don't have a lot of the powers that the Black Lanterns had back during the massive Blackest Night event, and the buildup of which basically made me a Green Lantern fan. So to go back to that is a lot of fun. Sinestro and Cop got a little bit ahead of myself. Sinestro and Hal as kind of like this buddy cop thing that they don't really get along, but they have to work together kind of thing. That's actually a whole lot of fun. Now that Hal has his own ring, they kind of explain it. I think it was in issue 11 they explained where it came from, and basically the Indigo Tribe gave Hal his own ring that's not really a Green Lantern ring, but works just like a Green Lantern ring, because apparently Indigo Tribe can do that now. I don't know. Black Hand is a very interesting, very disturbing character. Disturbing in a good way and in a bad way. And he appears to have the upper hand, the upper black hand, maybe, if you want to call it that. Bad pun, I'm sorry. But to take out again, they're not really Black Lanterns, but to take out the zombies, it takes everything that Hal and Sinestro have, and they're kind of left helpless before Black Hand, who has gotten a hold of the Book of the Black, which is what Hal and Sinestro, if I remember correctly, were sure that never ever wanted it to fall in Black Hand's hand, but it has, and it teases that Hal Jordan will be the greatest Black Lantern. Thinking back to Blackest Night, I kind of like that because Sinestro ended up being the White Lantern and Hal being the Black Lantern. Seems like an interesting paradox there. I like the callback to Blackest Night because that build up the whole road to after Sinestro Corps. The Sinestro Corps War is what made me a Green Lantern fan. So anytime they want to call back to that is fine with me. I did miss that Doug Mahnke wasn't on art this time around. It wasn't bad. I'm not going to complain about the art at all, but in my return to Green Lantern, I was really hoping for some Doug Mahnke artwork, and that's not what I got, unfortunately, but we will deal. We will persevere, and I'm sure he'll be back soon. This is gearing up toward another big Green Lantern event, and I don't know if I'm going to stick through it with this, but this story arc with the Black Hand right now I am thoroughly enjoying. Whether or not I will stick around for the Third War and the Guardians' attempt to replace the Green Lantern Corps as they once replaced the Manhunters, it's intriguing, but these Green Lantern events I'm kind of getting sick of them, to be honest with you. If they stuck to stories like these, Hal and Sinestro, and going in and out with the other colored lanterns, I think I'd enjoy that a whole lot more than another big event. But we'll see how it goes, and it does cross over, and hopefully we'll get me some Larfleeze. I am missing Larfleeze. Like I said, I love Blackest Night, and Larfleeze was certainly a big and entertaining part of that, and I do miss that ugly orange fella. So we'll see what happens there. Sort of shifting out and away from DC before we head over to Marvel. It is full-blown DC, but it's not New 52. It is before Watchmen. This time, Rorschach number 1. Alright, I'm going to apologize right off the bat because I'm not sure I'm pronouncing this name right, but the first thing I have to get off my chest about Rorschach number 1 is the artwork by Lee Bermejo, I believe is how you pronounce it. Again, sometimes I miss doing the written column because I didn't even know how to pronounce it. I just had to copy it down. The artwork is absolutely fantastic. If you know Bermejo's work from like the Joker graphic novel, for some reason that's the first thing that comes to mind. The Luther miniseries that he and Brian Azzarello did, who also is writing Rorschach, and who also wrote our pick of the week in Wonder Woman number 12. Sorry, this is number 1. Too many beers. Anyway, Lee Bermejo's artwork in this is absolutely fantastic. The next best thing about this series is it doesn't do what a lot of the other series are doing, and is trying to thread the needle through what Alan Moore has already done. They want to set this up and explain, oh, here's where this came from, or here's how that started. I don't really need that personally. I know Darwin Cook is doing a little bit of that with the Minutemen series, which I think is the only one I'm still reading right now, and I guess that says something, but it's also Darwin Cook writing and drawing, and how do you not buy that thing's brains out? This is just kind of, at least at the moment, appears to just be kind of a Rorschach story that takes place before the events in Watchmen, and that's all I need. I don't need it to fit in. I don't need him to make the sign, which I did hear that he actually, like, the birth of the sign or whatever happened in the Night Owl, excuse me. I'm getting my Justice League analogies mixed up. The Night Owl series. Apparently they make the sign, and that's exactly what I'm talking about. I don't need to see Rorschach make the sign. It's enough that he has it. If he has it in the series 2, that's great. But this appears to just be kind of a gritty crime drama, and your wild card in the story happens to be this really disgusting, short, wannabe a superhero creeper. Let's face it, Rorschach is an interesting fella. They talk about his childhood. We don't see any of it. Probably a good thing. And we've got a kind of a serial killer who is in the habit of dumping naked bodies, women into dumpsters and carving into their flesh. I can't help myself. I don't know if he's projecting that onto the women, or if that's what he feels, or that's what he thinks they think, or what's going on. But we got a crime boss that kind of gets the better of Rorschach in this first one. Rorschach comments that they made a mistake in mugging him, and an unfortunate witness is like, you mean that you didn't have anything for them to steal? And he means no, that they made a mistake because I'm not dead, which is a very Rorschach type thing to say. I really think they captured Rorschach in this. Another one that they're not doing in some of the other series is kind of just putting their own spin on these characters. Azzarello is very much giving us the Rorschach that Alan Moore introduced us to, and I can't thank him enough for that. And as I said, he's got some great little one-liners. The creepiness is there. The voice, which actually comes from the movie. Say what you want about the movie, Jackie Earle Haley as Rorschach was probably the highlight of the entire film, and you can really feel and hear that voice come out when you read this comic. So it definitely ties into multiple aspects of Watchmen, and that's kind of what these Before Watchmens were all about. A great one-off story with Rorschach is all I need. Again, I don't need it to tie into all these larger points. Just give me some good story with these characters that I like. Expand the universe, but don't get too caught up in making everything fit. And that's what we've got, at least for the first issue, with Before Watchmen Rorschach number 1. All right, what do you say we take a quick break since we're all done with DC? Before we head over to the House of Ideas, listen to this. I'll be right back.
Hello guys, it's Chris Vent here, one of the co-hosts of Operation Retroshock, where I co-host with my good friend Alan Price. We cover everything and anything retro on Operation Retroshock, whether it be things from Thundercats, we've interviewed Larry Kenny, Transformers, we've interviewed Stan Bush, Thunderbirds, Shane Rimmer, voice of Scott Tracy, Resident Evil, Alison Court, voice of Claire Redfield, Pokemon, voice of Brock and James, Eric Stewart, and so much more. If there's things you would like us to cover, why not send us an email at vinto316@gmail.com with something you would like us to talk about. You can head over to operationretroshock.podbean.com, hit the donate button, and we will gladly do that for you. So yeah, why not get back in time with us, because heck, being back in time is better than being in it now, isn't it? They're saying that don't make them as good as they did in the old days. Oh, well, I can attest that. I can remember the good old days. Oh yes, the good old days. Well, anyway, thanks for listening, and bye.
And we are back as promised, we are heading over to Marvel. I apologize, guys. It's all Big 2 this week, all superheroes, all the time. What are you going to do? This week brings us issue number 10 of Avengers vs. X-Men. I don't know if I just want it to be done. I don't know if it's losing quality. I don't know how to explain it. But this issue was really, really weird, and I'm not sure it was in a good way. And the reason it was weird and I'm not sure if it was in a good way or not, was we finally get to see Hope step up and become this thing that we've been hearing that she's going to be since like Messiah Complex, or that far back. That's how far back Hope goes, and that was a while ago. And we finally get to see her cut loose, and she absorbs the power that Iron Fist and the Thunderer have. And she kind of it looks like anyway, she kind of absorbs some of Scarlet Witch's reality powers. It's a bit much, and that I do mean in a good way. She's clearly this behemoth at this point. The wild card in this at the moment that I'm really, really liking is Magneto. He confronts Emma. Emma has gone off the deep end. Way, way, way off the deep end. Subjugating even mutant kind. Don't think any bad thoughts about Emma when she's around. She doesn't like that at all. It takes everything the X-Men have to not think bad thoughts, and even a brief one will get you called out and make you think that you're about to die. Magneto's will is strong, and he's known Xavier for a long time. At one point, obviously, even a greater telepath than Emma, and even he almost breaks under the Phoenix-possessed Emma Frost. But he doesn't. He gets his helmet, and he is reaching out for Xavier, and that he needs Xavier's help, and Scott and Emma are losing control. I really, really like that Magneto suddenly has become the wild card in this series. Hope finally kind of digging in and doing what we want her to do is also a lot of fun. And as I'm reliving this through my review and letting you guys all know what happened and what I thought, I am suddenly coming away with a much higher opinion of the comic than I came in with. It's so far, and it's not over yet, is not falling into that Marvel trap of crapping out at the end. This is still building, and that's a really, really good thing. Marvel's tendency is to go after so long in their events, and then nothing happens. Now, with Marvel now coming up, and I don't know if that's coming directly out of this or something that happens after that. I'm not sure how that all fits together, but like I said, I kind of talked myself into liking this issue even more than I thought. The last two issues, again, like I said, with Magneto kind of stepping up, Hope is stepping up as well, and the cover of 11 shows Scott and Emma facing off. So, if anything, it's going to be very action packed. Plot wise, will it hold up? Maybe not, but at least we're going to go down swinging, and that's always a lot of fun too. And sometimes you go out with a roar, sometimes you go out with a whimper. And that brings us to Sensational Spider-Man number 33.2, the continuation of last week's Sensational Spider-Man 33.1. Again, part of this big Marvel celebration of 50 years of the Amazing Spider-Man, which is rather stupendous, if I do say so myself. And that's probably the only adjective Spider-Man's never had in front of him in one of his series. This definitely fell apart in the second half. Actually, more accurately, it fell apart in the second half of the second issue. They really had me going in the first issue. They really had me going in the first half of this issue. And then Bad DeFalco showed up, and it just collapsed and was nonsensical and anticlimactic. And maybe that was the point. Maybe it was one of those things that, stuff happens and you can't do anything about it. Maybe this leads into a story or an issue from this point in Brand New Day that I'm not remembering. Maybe they set something up there, filled a gap. I don't know, but I was left very, very unsatisfied. A lot of non-resolution. Spider-Man and Carly don't even kind of reunite at the end of it. There's a hint that they're going to. We don't see any real resolution. There is a hint of sort of maybe resolution, but this definitely puts Peter Parker Spider-Man ahead of Sensational Spider-Man in our 50th anniversary retrospective. series, and it's not over yet. We've got Web of Spider-Man number, what one is it? Number 129.1. There, I finally said it. So that is coming up probably next week, would be my guess, since these have been coming out 1 week at a time. And I think next week is the big 50th anniversary issue. Maybe it's 2 weeks of Amazing Spider-Man next week. But we have some Amazing Spider-Man to talk about this week. So that's it for Sensational Spider-Man. Let's talk about Amazing Spider-Man, and let's talk about the Amazing Dan Slott. As I've mentioned almost 50 times already this podcast, it's been 50 years since Amazing Spider-Man debuted. And only 4 issues into that run, we got introduced to the Lizard. And now, after all this time, Dan Slott has completely reworked the entire status quo involving the Lizard in more ways than one. And that takes an incredible set of low-hangers to rework a villain that has been around this long and is this much a part of the Spider-Man Rogues Gallery. For those of you that have been reading, you know that most of the Horizon Lab staff have also been turned into massive lizards, much like Kurt Connors has been turned into a lizard. Only the Horizon Lab lizards are docile and friendly with humans, and a couple of them are even making out. They're in their human forms. They were dating in real life, or non-lizard life, whatever you want to call it. And apparently that courtship continues as they go all Discovery Channel on everyone, right in front of everyone, on each other, right in front of everyone is the sentence I meant to say. So Spider-Man kind of deduces that, you know what, it's not turning into the Lizard that made Connors crazy. Connors was crazy before he turned into the Lizard. So they basically reworked the Connors character, take away any sympathy, and make him this cold-blooded killer regardless of being a lizard. He lost his arm and was resentful of that. He lost his wife and was resentful of that. He killed his own son, and that'll make anybody go off the deep end. So they take that away. He finds a way to reverse Morbius's cure, so he uncures himself. He becomes the Lizard again. He and Spider-Man have a fantastic Lizard-Spider-Man battle, as almost all of them have been. And with the help of Uatu specifically and Horizon Labs, Spider-Man defeats the Lizard, but not really in the way that you'd think he would. He takes away the Lizard consciousness, but he's still the Lizard. So it's now Kurt trapped in the Lizard's body. And what we get is that Spider-Man was right. It was Kurt. It was Kurt. It wasn't the Lizard making him insane. And now, at the end of this, he's trapped in Rikers. Spider-Man goes to confront him just to make sure that he's okay, because the big thing in this issue was that Spider-Man, in order to stop him, there was a risk that he would kill him. And Spider-Man took that risk. Obviously, he didn't die. This is Amazing Spider-Man, again, so close to the anniversary issue, he's not going to actually kill someone, but it weighed on Spidey, and it was effective. Slott pulled it off pretty well, even though it's one of those things that even though you know it's not going to happen, it's still effective. And as Spider-Man is walking away, basically letting the Lizard know that this is it, we're done, you know, you're not you anymore, or you're not a threat, I guess, anymore. The Lizard is now trapped within himself. It's Connors' consciousness. He's got no more excuses, but he's in the Lizard body. So they take away his sympathy and then kind of give him back a measure of sympathy right at the very, very end. I don't know if this is Slott putting another stamp on his run. We actually haven't heard any Marvel Now news regarding Amazing Spider-Man or Spider-Man in general, which is a bit weird to me, but this is a couple-month rollout. It's not going to be like the New 52. So we may very well still get Amazing Spider-Man announcements, so we may very well have Amazing Spider-Man remain just the way it is, and that's fine. But sooner or later, Slott's run is going to end, whether it's because of Marvel Now at the end of the year, or he just eventually bows out, as they all do. Whoever goes for the Lizard next, the Lizard is kind of off the table at this point. He has kind of eliminated him as a villain. He's just not the Lizard anymore, and he's kind of trapped. I guess think Beast, like in Beauty and the Beast. He doesn't have any excuse. He's just the Lizard. He's just a man, but he's not. It was kind of a head scratcher at first. It took a little while to get used to it and realize that this Lizard is not the same lizard we've been reading for literally 50 years. So again, to change a character that dramatically, kudos. And then, just like Wonder Woman, just like Sweeney and I talked about in Radical Quarter of Turtle Comic Talk, Slott closes the book on one chapter and opens up a brand new one involving the Hobgoblin. Now, this new Hobgoblin is a little bit crazy. He's definitely worn on some people's nerves. I tend to kind of like him. I think he's a little bit too crazy without really the real motivation, but I kind of been digging the character. Regardless, if you like Hobgoblin now, or you hate Hobgoblin now, you're going to like what's coming up next, because somebody has found out that they're claiming to be the Hobgoblin, and the original Hobgoblin finds out about it, and he's none too happy. The irony, of course, being that the Hobgoblin himself made a career of copying others, but that's neither here nor there, and I'm sure intentional on Slott's part, given his love for the character and embrace of Spider-Man's history. But we've got the original Hobgoblin coming into town to confront the imposter, which again works on more than one level, and some Hobgoblin action to kick off the 50th year of Spider-Man. Well, that's just fine with me, and that is it this week for this yet to be named comics podcast that I'm doing. Change is a natural part of life, and I've gone through quite a bit myself recently. Self-inflicted, no hard feelings anywhere, but we have to evolve, we have to change, much like the lizard, much like Kurt Connors, and I've got both my arms and I haven't killed my son, so I consider myself to be ahead. But change is a part of life, and change is what's going to happen. So stay tuned and see what happens with this podcast. I hope you won't be disappointed. I hope you will enjoy it, and we will talk to you guys next time. Thank you so much.